Hello class, and welcome to this Willow NES walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Briggins. I'm your instructor, Professor Briggins, and we're finishing our month of classes on games based on films with 1989's action RPG from Capcom, Willow, which is based on the film of the same name from 1988. I hadn't played this game ahead of this class and didn't know much about it, but I have to say I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. It's got a Legend of Zelda kind of feel to it, but the game I'd liken it to more is SNK's Crystalis, which itself was always one of my favorite kind of hidden gems on the NES. An excellent action RPG which we did a class on, which you can check out via the Video Games 101 playlist in the description. Despite the pedigree of talent behind this game, which Fluff will talk about later, some impressive names from Capcom, I wouldn't put it on the same level as Crystalis, but still a very enjoyable experience. Not too difficult either. Another game where you get out what you put in, as is typically the case with RPGs of its day, but impressively very little leveling is required in this game, maybe 20 minutes or so, total spread out amongst a couple stops at different points in the game. Very quick and efficient if you know where to grind, which we will cover. Specifically though, to handicap the difficulty, I'm going to give Willow a 5 out of 10. On the frustration scale, this equates to throwing your controller, probably because you died just before besting a boss and very far from a checkpoint. Speaking of which, that won't be an issue for you as Gary's got all of your boss beaters, Blaze has information on every single weapon, shield, and spell we're collecting in this game, plus tips for the aforementioned best grinding spots in the game, and Fluff will give us some background on this lovely ARPG from Capcom, as well as the film on which it's based as we're working through the game. Bit of a long one though, even by covering the most efficient route to get through this game, so let's run the intro and get into this Willow NES walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. As we get ready to get into the game, let's take a look at the controls for Willow. The D-pad is for moving Willow himself, as well as navigating the menu, which we can bring up with Start, which also effectively pauses the game. While in the menu, pressing A opens sub-menus and allows us to confirm choices like equipping a sword, shield, or spell. It also casts spells outside of the menu in the game. B backs out of sub-menus and most importantly swings our sword in the game. This is a slower, wider swing versus quicker thrusting stabs, which you can use by holding a direction and tapping B. At the start, we can pop back into our home hut to bid the family goodbye. As they'll point out, we can revisit here anytime we need to top off our HP. They also subsequently give the tip that we should see Aldwin before leaving. And that's all the help we get. That leads us to the Briggs notes for this Willow walkthrough, the keys to beating this game. First, follow this guide. Our family won't be with you the entire game, but we will, and we'll show you the best route and courses of action to beating this game as quickly, efficiently, and effectively as possible, getting every item, seeing and doing everything there is to do in this game. Secondly, and really just an extension of that point, level grind at our recommended spots. I mentioned that in the opening, but there are both certain enemies who are ideal for getting experience faster, as well as certain areas where you can find those enemies much more readily. We'll show those to save you time in getting to the levels we recommend for each section of the game. Again, really just 2 points in the game when you need to stop off and grind, and you can avoid most of the enemies in this game in between otherwise. Very tidy. So while there are other huts which you can visit to get tips here or there on things to do or people to see, our next order of business is to head west to visit Vonkar in the village, who will give us our first sword. And while we're doing that, we got our first spell from Aldwin, so let's go to Blaze for the first time today.
It's Blaze's best here in Item Sky. Alright, our first spell here in Willow is Magic Acorns. If you saw the film or just listen to what Aldwin said, these are described more as special weapons given to Willow, which turn anything he threw at them to stone. For our purposes, it freezes some enemies in place to the tune of 5 magic points per use, making said enemies easier to defeat with our sword, which we'll be getting in a moment, or simply to avoid them altogether. It also makes some enemies require less hits to defeat. This being our first spell, remember to go into the menu and equip it as your active spell if you want to use it.
Thank you, Blaze, on our first sword.
George Harrison, aka Vonkar, gives us our first sword here in Willow and the long sword. It has a +6 in strength, which is basically our attack power. Note that the +6 is versus not having a sword, and that's the damage here at the start while we're still on level 1. As we level up, we'll do more damage with this or any sword, which you can always check via your strength stat in the menu. In the future, when we get a new sword, I'll cover the difference between it and our previous sword. Vonkar mentioned that we'll find the sword heavy and hard to use at first, but that we'll get used to it after a few fights. This is actually his and the game's way of explaining that Willow is able to swing his sword faster once he reaches his optimal level for that sword. That's what the level 3 denotes with this sword. You'll find each swing is relatively slow at first here on level 1. Once we get to level 2, it swings faster, and finally at level 3, Willow is able to swing the long sword as fast as possible. This allows you to get more swings or stabs in within a shorter period of time, very important for defending yourself.
Thank you, Blaze. Speaking of level 3, I do recommend that you do about 60 seconds of grinding in this area to get the required 300 experience points to reach level 3. There are 2 types of enemies in particular which we recommend for grinding early on in the game. Blaze?
Alright, I'm just going to be covering the enemies in this game which I recommend using for leveling up, starting off with a couple varieties early on in the game. First, we have the jelly. When you come upon these bubble-like jelly enemies, keep in mind that they come in 2 varieties, ones that split into smaller pieces and ones that don't. They don't mix the 2 types, so when you get to a screen, it's either one or the other. They both give you 10 experience points when defeated, but note that the splitting kinds, you don't get extra experience for defeating the smaller instances, so ignore them and move on. Much better are the white skulls, which also pay 10 experience per kill, but move much more predictably. You'll find Willow swings his sword from his right to his left, whether he's facing up or down. The curveball is whether he's facing left or right, he'll swing from the top of the screen to the bottom. Now you can use this information to position Willow accordingly and take on a number of the more predictably moving enemies, like the aforementioned skulls, which fly pretty much straight for you, as the professor shows when you're grinding for the first couple levels to get to that optimal level with the long sword at the start.
Thank you, Blaze. Yep, just set up in the bottom right of this screen. This is the best place to grind early on. As I said, it takes about 60 seconds to get to level 3 with these skulls. Note that not every screen which is capable of featuring enemies will feature them every time you come onto it. In some cases, with certain enemies, you need to walk on the screen a bit to trigger them, as was the case with these skulls here, but just like that, we are now on level 3, and that is as fast as you can swing your sword in this game. Useful not only for combat, but also ending that animation faster so that you can go back to blocking with your shield, which we're about to get here in the village of Dew, which we're about to come upon here to the left. We are now in the village of Dew. You can tell by the change in music here, the cheerier soundtrack. You'll find that the village's chief won't grant you an audience just yet. Who are you? Outsiders must leave immediately. So to get in with the chief, we just need to see a couple other people here in the village, and thankfully it's all people who are going to give us something. Willow's all about that bottom line, so let's head to the southeast corner of the village to get your health and magic topped off in this little domicile here. This guy's going to be important. We'll come back and talk to him later as well. You can obviously come here to get topped off if you haven't quite reached level 3 yet. Our numbers are looking much better now that they're topped off than when we started. So now let's head to the southwest corner of the village to get our first shield. How about that shield, Blaze?
Similar to the longsword, the first shield we get here in Willow and the wooden shield gives you a +6 in projectile defense from your first level. And like the swords, I'll address the upgrade difference from shield to shield as we get new ones. Shields are passive in that you only need to equip them to be able to block projectiles or at least absorb some of the damage you'd otherwise take from them. Note that the shield won't block anything while you're attacking with your sword. As I've kind of hinted at, it's important to note that shields have no bearing on the damage you take from enemies which make contact with you. Just projectiles of all forms, so keep that in mind, or in other words, don't let enemies touch you.
Good advice, thank you, Blaze. As we pop that shield on. And now we have a bit more information courtesy of the shield giver. What a nice man, just giving an outsider a shield, by the way. I say, all those people that are just standing there, they kind of blend in. They look more like scarecrows to me. But you can just walk up to them and talk to them if you like this gentleman right here. I think that Bogarda lives in the forest north of this village. Good to know. Willow, famously, well, rude, I would say, for not speaking to anyone in this game. He just shows up and they give him swords and shields, magic spells, and he walks out without even smiling. No thank you from Willow. So now that we've talked to the shield giver, the village chief will grant us an audience. He'll welcome us in to confirm the story we just heard about his father. More importantly, giving us our second spell overall, actually. Blaze, what are we getting here?
It's not long into our adventure before we get the extremely useful Healmace Spell. Use this to the tune of 20 MP to restore 72 points of your health on demand. Extremely useful when you're in between towns and taking a beating.
Thank you, Blaze. I like how the chief says, just hold this and say the magic word, but neglects to specify said magic word. Oh well, I'm sure it's fine. So now we need to head north to continue our quest, but we can make a very quick detour, if we like, to immediately make this wooden shield redundant. Exit out of the village in the southwest, past the Scarecrow Lady. Now go south, and then take the southern of the two paths when it forks right here. Follow this along, moving with pace to avoid boulders which might fall and freeze any enemies who block your path. To avoid them, if you like. If we die en route, we'll show back up in the village of Dew for what it's worth, albeit without any experience we got since leaving the village, so the stakes aren't too high in making this trip. Eventually the path will dead end at a cave, similar to the path we took to get here. This is linear. Mind the bats here, just, again, avoid them if possible. Given time, they will form a giant bat, but we're not looking to engage in any combat here, so just keep moving. Eventually you'll find a chest at the end of the dead-end path, which contains the small shield.
Alright, the small shield provides 9 better defense than the wooden shield. This is useful for negating any damage we'd otherwise take from a kind of mini-boss coming up shortly. So pop that baby on.
Thank you, Blaze. Now let's just backtrack back to Dew. Healing as necessary with that Healmace Spell. Once we get back to the village, we'll want to stop off at that southeast hut where the kind gentleman will once again top off our HP and MP. See if we get any boulders here again. It is random on a lot of screens where it's a possibility for, I was going to say enemies, but in that case obstacles to fall down on you. On some screens it's a 100% encounter rate, but for a lot of the screens where enemies are a possibility, it's just a flip of the coin for the most part, so. Back here in the village of Dew. Just cutting through here. A lot of it looks kind of samey. If you do need to top off your health, I don't know that we took too much damage there, so I'm not going to sweat it. Once you're ready though, head north. Just about where we entered the village to begin with, at that fork. And follow this path where we'll come upon the mini-boss, which Blaze just alluded to. Let's go to him now to give us some tips for this upcoming kind of sort of mini-boss. Blaze?
Alright, a frustrating enemy which is guarding a treasure we need. The Snake Man will charge at you once you get close enough. So quickly come back at him with those quick reflexes and swing your sword at him. This will knock him back, at which point he'll send out 3 fireballs. If you stopped off like the professor recommended and grab the small shield and have it equipped, your defense will be high enough such that Snake Man's projectiles will be completely blocked, allowing you to stand your ground ideally in the middle of the screen, blocking those shots, and swinging once Snake Man charges at you once again. Note that with the wooden shield, you'll not only take 2 damage per fireball, but you'll get knocked back as well, making the rhythm much more difficult to maintain. It'll take about a dozen hits to take him down, so use that small shield, stand your ground, and put him down relatively easily, repeating the process for the second Snake Man you come across. Oh, and by the way, they only give you 20 experience per, making them completely worthless as a grinding option for what it's worth.
Thank you, Blaze. I got smacked around a couple times at the start of that first battle due to my impatience, but it's fine as we got our health topped off from getting the gold statue here, as is usually the case when you find something from a chest. Note that all of the items in this game are simply used to access subsequent areas. We never need to use any items. You can see the items you have in your menu, but yeah, there's no point to that, so. And the snake guy will show up right behind us, but as Blaze mentioned, no point in fighting him again. 20 experience is not worth the hassle. 4 skulls, on the other hand, double the experience in a quarter of the time there. So with the statue in hand, let's backtrack to just north of the village of Dew, where we had that split. Ignore the warthog-looking enemies there. They take a beat before they actually charge at you, so no harm there. So here's where we're going north this time. South is back to the village of Dew. And just follow this path here. Can't help myself on the skulls, they're so easily defeated here. Skipping all the other battles. Again, won't need to do really any grinding for another nice chunk of the game. And then when we do, it'll be very brief, but continue following the path around until you come across a skeleton guarding the cave right here. And the statues necessary for entering the cave. He'll get out of the way and let us enter. Once in the cave, follow the linear path and go south at the first and second forks. You'll come across a few enemies, including some bats and bees, neither of which again is worth stopping off to fight. There's also a kind of undead enemy who is literally invincible to us at this stage in the game, so just hurry through wherever you go. If you linger when he's on the screen, he will transform you into, well, something you don't want to be, and then proceed to smack. That's the guy right there, yeah, do not linger when he is on the screen. Yeah, he'll put up some decent damage to you, and you can't leave the screen until you've reverted back to your normal form after 15 seconds or so, but finally go through that door right there, follow the path. This will lead you to a dead end with a chest, which contains a nondescript ring. Blaze?
Alright, the ring grants you a passive +10 to your strength from here on out. No need to equip it, not that you could. Just having it gives you that boost from now on, so do not miss this ring.
Thank you, Blaze. As he mentioned, it's just there in our inventory now. And we went from 8 strength to 18 strength, so nice to get this early on in the game, by the way, that we've talked about. Enhancements like that, little passive boosts, which we've got by way of items in previous classes on games, but we've gotten them very late in those games, and just kind of thinking it would have been nice had we gotten this a little bit earlier, but anyway, at this point, backtrack through the door, retrace your steps going north at the first fork and north again, then east all the way, following this path. See, these guys pay out 30, but they take a few hits and they don't like to linger in areas where you can hit them sometimes. Sometimes the best grinding areas are just as much about the layout of the screen as the enemies themselves. It can get frustrating sometimes when the enemy's just off screen. But go north at that 4-way intersection, and now we find ourselves another chest with the Battle Sword. Blaze?
The Battle Sword provides a substantial boost in attack power over our Longsword with a +14. very useful against the upcoming first boss here in Willow. Note that you need to be at least level 5 to swing the battle sword at full speed.
Thank you, Blaze. I like it's the exact same length as the long sword, the battle sword, but you can see we're swinging it much slower now, being 2 levels under the optimal level for the optimal speed. There's nothing slower than 2 levels under, by the way, so if we were level 2 or 1, the animation would be the exact same speed for what it's worth, but with that sword equipped, just follow the path right here, and we're coming up on our first boss here in Willow, so let's go to him for the first time today. Our resident boss expert, Gary.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters.
Not to get too Sesame Street on you, but if you're familiar with the letter L, then you'll have no problems defeating Bogarda, as this is the precise shape or pattern which you need to move in to avoid this boss's intermittent axes they toss at you. While your small shield can absorb it, this immediately returns it to their hand, so you're much better off dodging it to the left than taking advantage of that time it takes to return to their hand while you run up and stab the boss from the left side and retreating down and right while the boss tosses their axe now over top and to the left of you while you get a stab right in front of them. Repeat this pattern as ultimately the boss will continue to work themselves to the top right corner of the room as a result, but the strategy will continue to work. With the combined attack power of your battle sword and ring, it should only take about 10 hits to take down this very predictable boss.
Thank you, Gary. Yes, this boss beater brought to you by the letter L. I like that. For our efforts, we get rewarded with the Flowing Fire spell from this gentleman who we learned about back in Dew, the chief's father. Blaze, how about the spell?
Flowing Fire, aka the Fireflor Spell, creates a ring of fire where you initially use it, which lingers for roughly 6 seconds, costing 5 MP per use. Like the magic acorns, it doesn't work on all enemies, but those it does work on, it will continually hit when they run into it regardless of which side they're on until they're dead or the circle diminishes. For what it's worth, enemies can slip through the spread out flames, so they won't necessarily take damage while attempting to travel from one side to the other.
Thank you, Blaze. I'm going to be honest with you, class. Most of the spells which we get in this game are not all that useful or important. I generally recommend saving your MP, or I certainly save my MP for restoring your health when you're out in the field, obviously, and some of the spells we'll get later for making getting around a little bit faster and easier, so. But yeah, just my 2 cents on that. But anyway, we're just backtracking to Dew now. You can see the Flowing Fire spell in action. It is nice for hitting those enemies when they're off the screen, but seeing as we are headed back to Dew to get our numbers topped off, that is where we're actually heading first. Going to see that old man in the southeast corner of the village. He will give us a new quest as well as top off our numbers for us. While we're doing this though, how about we bring in Fluff for the first time today for our first Fluff fact about Willow for the NES. Fluff?
Willow is a 1989 NES action RPG developed and published by Capcom. Loosely based on the 1988 film of the same name, Willow is heavily inspired by The Legend of Zelda in terms of gameplay, featuring a relatively open world the player can travel about and needing to acquire a series of items to ultimately progress and complete the game. I mentioned this during our class on UN Squadron, another Capcom-developed title, but Capcom's director in the late 80s, Yoshiki Okamoto, explained that at the time, Capcom made the decision to branch out from titles featuring their original characters and began to pursue licensing opportunities to create games based on established characters and properties in an effort to broaden Capcom's reach and appeal. Just as UN Squadron itself was based on a popular manga at the time named Area 88, Willow was one of the first games Capcom developed based on this philosophy, a strategy which proved to be very successful with titles like DuckTales and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, both of which sold well over 1 million copies. Although Willow was largely recognized as being the Legend of Zelda clone that it was well received. Given Willow's impressive credits list, which includes Ghosts and Goblins director Takeru Fujiwara acting as producer, and Mega Man creator Akira Kitamura in lead designer role, it's no wonder this game is as good as it is.
Thank you, Fluff. Well said. So we've arrived back in Dew, and we're visiting the old man in the southeast portion of the village. He's telling us that he used to be a blacksmith and that he seeks dragon scales to make a magnificent sword and also a shield. I'll spoil that right now, so be on the lookout for some dragon scales to bring back to him. So after visiting him, we're going to head due west out of the village, past the creepy scarecrow lady once again, who, if you run up and talk to her, is much more attractive, actually, when you see her up close, but we're not going to. She just looks like an old Eastern European woman right there. But now leaving the village, heading west. This time we're going to go south, past that fork where we stopped off before to get our small shield. Just trying to lure these skeletons out of the way. The one on the right, or the farther one, won't even come at you, but gotta get close enough to bait one towards you. But now take the lower path at the grassy fork right there. Stay up and keep going west until you reach a bridge. And these blue-tinted skulls pay out twice what the white ones were earlier, paying out 20 experience per. Not too shabby considering the limited work which they take to put them down. See, we got a nice payday from that first boss we took down as well, helping us get to level 4. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. Kachil? Just chill? It's a lot of consonants next to one another. Looks like one of the animal pals that might have approached little Nemo in that game, telling him about a secret under the waterfall or something. But he's grateful that Willow did him a solid, and in classic Willow nature just coldly walks away from him. I don't need your thanks. Whatever the Warwick Davis accent was in that film. I don't think I'm going to surprise you, class, when I tell you I have not seen Willow either. Is that something I should add to the watch list as well? Leave a comment, let me know. And then don't miss this guy right here, this pair of guys. These are Frangine and Rule of the Brownies clan. Again, probably all characters from the film that I am just not familiar with, so. Cherlindria is the beautiful fairy of the lake. Seems like Rule just kind of echoes whatever Frangine says. Forgive me if I'm butchering all of these names, by the way, class. Cave where the dragon called Matanda lives. Defeat Matanda and bring the crystal ball of life back to us. Guess that's funny. Alright. So after chatting with them, continue and go north at the fork. And then left right here. Following the path. Till you reach this hut right here to get another quest to rescue this old woman's pet named Poe. Storming into someone's home unannounced. That's pretty much our thing. She doesn't mind though. She's given us a quest here in finding Poe for her. So keep your eyes peeled for a cute pet named Poe as well. Did she give us the species, by the way? I'm not sure. Got the medicinal herbs, another item which is just for advancing the game once we do find Poe. So gotta find Poe, gotta find the dragon scales, and gotta save the world, in that order. So from the old woman's house, go east twice, follow the path around, ultimately going east once again, right here. Then go north, and take the northeastern path at the split right here. Then go all the way north, and then all the way to the west, ignoring the dangerous enemies of the woods, including the trees who oftentimes will come alive and throw fireballs at you. Sometimes they don't. It's 2-4 right there. He's gonna come alive? Yep. 3 for 3. Sometimes they don't. Eventually we'll get to another rocky area right here and then take the first fork to the west, heading straight north and into the cave. And there is a good bit of loot in this upcoming cave right here. And I have to say, if you pay attention to the door to the cave right here, a lot of the doors in this game look like they're ripped straight from Capcom's Bionic Commando, actually. Just set in a fantasy world, but yes, again, there's a ton of loot in this cave, so as always, here is the fastest route to getting it all. Inside the cave, follow the path and go through another door until we come to our first intersection right here. We're going to go south and then ultimately through another door. This will lead us to a chest which contains the gold shield. Blaze?
Alright, the gold shield is another step up in our projectile defense, this time giving us a +10 over our existing small shield.
Thank you, Blaze. Even the language reminds me of Bionic Commando. You've obtained the gold shield. I've obtained the brown communicator when you beat a level in that game. The name of a swordsman is written on the inside, but it's too old to read. Finders keepers. You have the light of life. I always expect them to break into a early 90s Celine Dion, Peebo Bryson kind of power ballad right there. Just the light of life sounds like that kind of song. But that just means they're topping off our health. Sorry. Anyway, after grabbing and equipping the gold shield, head back to the intersection. This time go right until you come across another chest, which will go in right once again, which will contain the Flame Sword. Blaze, how about the Flame Sword?
The Flame Sword is another upgrade, this time over the Battle Sword. At a +10 over said Battle Sword in terms of offense, it's not the leap we experienced last time, but equip that bad boy and let's go to work. Swinging at sub-optimal speed until we hit level 6 this time.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Blaze. So we're about to drop down our speed by half a level, if you will, or a full level, however you want to quantify the different levels of speed for your sword. But here is that Flame Sword. You can see those bats were not worth the battle, at least when they form the giant version of the enemy. What a sword. The whole sword is red with flame. That does sound pretty cool. Be cool if they didn't all look exactly the same when we're holding them, but I get it. It's just easier from a design perspective. Looked cool in our inventory though. You can see why these skeletons aren't worth it either. They block a lot of the times. It's a long drawn out battle. This will earn us 1680 goes to. You can see why I just bait them now to get out of our way. Some of these are actually taking. It doesn't seem like it. But we will get 60 experience for that, for our efforts. Yeah, and the time that we could have destroyed probably 20 enemies, which paid out 20 experience. Not worth the exchange, but in this chest we find the Dragon Scale. Again, just something the old blacksmith wanted back in the village of Dew, so we'll return that to him when we get a chance for a couple upgrades, actually. Now return to where you found the Flame Sword at that intersection. This time, gonna want to go north. And then east twice here. Just baiting the skeletons out of the way. We will get a nice offensive spell later on, which will clear the screen of pretty much all enemies, but it's going to be a little while still. Nice spell, as you might imagine, for doing some late game grinding, but go south at that intersection there, and then all the way south. Eventually we'll come upon a door which will lead us to the titular dragon of these caves, Matanda. Looking kind of grumpy and sad. What? This is the first time we've been here. Never give the crystal ball of life. Sounds like you need it. You're not doing so hot. I'll give you a bracelet that the thief left here. Alright, so you just think we're all thieves. So he'll give us the thieves bracelet. No bearing on anything, just need it to complete the game. Alright, so the last thing we need to do here in these caves is to find Poe, the old woman's pet, who's supposedly very cute, so looking forward to this. Still unsure of the species. I need to use Healmace for the first time here. So head back north till you get to that four-way intersection, then head right in through the door. This will take us through a linear area. En route you'll find another slightly more powerful version, but exactly the same otherwise, of those snake men that Blaze described earlier. And the only problem with Blaze's strategy, which is the right strategy, is that when you're under-leveled with a sword, it takes that extra split second to put away the sword after swinging to get that shield back up, which I kind of mentioned earlier, so just be careful. Maybe put a little more distance between yourself and that. Yeah, alright, he's kind of cute, I guess. My name is Poe. That forest of death gives me the creeps. Sometimes I just have to get out of there. Senile old dragon back there. Did you rob Matanda? Really huffy, waving his big tail around just because I played with the crystal ball a little bit. So you messed with his ball, he messed with your feathers. Seems like an even exchange. But now that we've given him the medical herbs from the old woman, in gratitude he will give us the very powerful Ocarina magic spell. Blaze, tell us about it.
For 20 MP, the Ocarina will fast travel you to certain points of interest you've already visited, which at this point in the game is Nelwyn, Dew, and Poe's house. Note that this only works outside, and you can't use it while enemies are present on the screen.
Thank you, Blaze. Now it's time to quickly backtrack to the entrance. If you want to battle the odd enemies on the way back, maybe the bats or bees should they appear, that's fine, we're about to get topped off. The bees aren't especially ideal, but we're about to get a complete top off in HP and MP, so yeah, don't be afraid to get smacked around a bit. Maybe get yourself the 2,000 experience required for level 5, especially since we're behind the draw when it comes to using the flame sword. There's a spell which will be very useful for quickly exiting dungeons and the those undead spell casting creatures, whatever those are. They'll warp in and out sometimes. Come on. Work with me here. It's covering up our status bar up there in the top left. Yeah, much better is taking out those bats before they form into something larger. Grab yourself pretty much a quick 100 XP right there. Once you get back to the entrance, though, you'll find that the west wall disappears just as we walk up to it here, I think on the next screen. There you go. Like magic. So follow this new path and head outside that exit to get a visit from the fairy Cherlindrea, the beautiful fairy Cherlindrea. It gives us a new spell in the magic cane. Blaze?
At the somewhat expensive 12 MP per use, the cane spell will be used in battling the final boss late in the game. In the meantime, it acts a lot like the magic acorns in that it fires a single narrow projectile straight in front of us. The difference is, this damages a single target should it make contact. Given the cost, just make sure you're gonna hit the target, but I don't even think you need to use it until the very end of the game.
Thank you, Blaze. Yep, we'll need it on the final boss, but not until we get it upgraded by Raziel, however you pronounce that. It's interesting, though, that we cannot change Raziel back to their normal state by using this cane, I think, actually, until we are level 13, I want to say. So that's kind of the minimum level you need to beat the game, actually. And there you go, Raziel, waiting for us to be changed back to her normal form. Sounds cute. No possum. By the evil magic of Queen Bavmorda. Alright, so yes, been mentioning the old blacksmith in Dew. Asked us to get those dragon skills so he can make us some stuff. We can go back and do that now, but in the interest of efficiency, I'd rather go a bit farther north to get the next fast travel point so that we can quickly get back here after we return to Dew. So let's travel north, ignoring the first and second crossroads we come across. Same basic strategy here for these muscle-looking guys. Diaper-wearing muscle guys. Like a two-headed muscle guy. Remember the muscle figures? We did a class on that game, actually. I think it was just called Muscle, actually. Fluff talked about all that. There's another enemy which we cannot attack in our current form. Well, with our current equipment, better said. So just ignore them. This should get us to, there you go, level 5. Looking pretty good. Along the way, we will find ourselves the Devil Eye. Alright, speaking of which, Blaze?
Alright, the Devil Eye is a bit of a weird one. With 60 more damage than the Flame Sword you likely currently are wielding, you know there's gotta be a yeah but coming on. The good news is, this is technically the most powerful sword in the game in terms of strength, and yes, you currently own it. The bad news is, it only works on a little under 30% of the enemies in this game. The worst news is, this is the only sword which works on those enemies, meaning you'll need to pause and swap out your sword semi-regularly, or you can just commit to one type and ignore the rest for large stretches of the game, which I recommend. But yes, every enemy where you swing your sword and it do nothing, well, most magic-based enemies really, this is the sword which will do something, including a decent experience-paying enemy around these parts I'll cover in a moment.
Thank you, Blaze. Yeah, we'll be doing some grinding around here in just a bit. I guess the kind of undead enemies, I'm not sure how you want to describe them, but... So immediately after the Devil Eye, you'll come across the shackled Valkylm, Madmartigan, who asks us to find the keys to his cuffs. Those are to the west of him, which we'll get, but first things first, carry on this path to come to the tavern to get topped off, then fast travel by way of the Ocarina to Dew, and then we'll finally revisit the old blacksmith to give him the dragon scales, which he requested. I like they just call it the bar. It's the Traveler's Tavern, I think, specifically, but... And then he carries us up, like the little kicking of our feet while we're flying in the air, almost against our will, seemingly, but... Go south a couple times from that screen and then head east, and... Here's his place, and you'll automatically give him the dragon scales which we recovered in Matanda's cave. He gives us the sword and the shield. Right in front of us, the dragon sword and the dragon shield. Blaze?
Alright, 2 for 1 from the old man, not too shabby, and not too difficult to describe either, as both will give us a plus 10 over our most recent equipment in their respective categories, or specifically, the flame sword and the gold shield. I'm not comparing anything else to the Devil Eye moving forward because, again, it's very much its own thing, but yes, against the vast majority of enemies in this game, the dragon sword is a nice little upgrade over the flame sword.
Thank you, Blaze. So yes, let's head back now to the bar. Makes me laugh, imagining Poe reluctantly taking us to the bar yet again, believing he's enabling a burgeoning alcohol addiction in Willow. Always that little pause right there, but once we're back there, go back west and south to where Madmartigan is shackled up. You can top yourself off to replace those 20 MP before you head out. We already established Willow likes his drink there. Kinda bothers me putting HP under MP in the status bar up there, but there you go. So yes, return to Madmartigan, and then we're gonna head west for 3 screens, and then south for 2, and then west for 2 more. And there we'll find a chest with an old rusty key, which we'll give to Madmartigan to free himself. And this is actually just about the area where we will recommend that you do some grinding on these enemies in particular, and Blaze will talk about them in just a moment, but I will give something away and say that you need to use your Devil Eye Sword to actually make contact with them, some of those magic-based / undead kind of leaning enemies, but here are the keys for Madmartigan's shackles. It is old and quite rusty, and yet it's exactly what Madmartigan needs for his freedom. So let's return there. And Blaze will talk more about these guys in just a moment and the best spot to find them as well, but as you can see, certainly well worth our time. In terms of grinding, much better than the payout. Pretty much every other enemy we've come across to this point. You think skeletons would fall under the undead umbrella right there, but yeah, they don't seem to be affected by the Devil Eye as your physical-based swords are, but it's free Madmartigan. Now, he looks so sad in that outside animation there with his hands tied behind his back. I guess right here as well. He'll give us the necklace, which again, just necessary for doing more business later on. So after you free him, before we do our bit of grinding, head north from there and go back to the Traveler's Tavern. Music to Willow's ears, I'm sure. If you're really in a rush, use Ocarina again, although it's probably a wash. It's not too many screens removed from Madmartigan's there. And you'll find he has beaten us back to the Traveler's Tavern. Suddenly a happening spot. We have the barmaid. Attractive lass. She looks just like the Scarecrow lady, actually. They only have one animation for young women in this game, and that's pretty much it. So here's some random guy giving us information on something which we will need in just a moment. Mysteriously disappeared the night he returned, and then there's Madmartigan. Smiling because he's free and has a drink in his hand, presumably. Thanks for helping me out of that jam. There I was, minding my own. And all of a sudden, Sorsha came charging up and took me prisoner. Anyway, thanks. I don't get why she chained you up and just left you there, though. You know, was she busy with other business? Had other stuff going on, but gives us the Fozzie Bear named Wakka Seeds for breathing underwater. Well, he'll tell us about the Wakka Seeds, better said. So, to get those, we need to find someone from the Nail Clan. Who do we know from the Nail Clan, class? I'm not being coy, I just, again, can't pronounce that guy's name. Kachil? Let's go find Kachil. So go back to the Madmartigan Shackled intersection, as it will henceforth be known, at least here in Video Games 101. Go right at the intersection this time. Keep going right until the path forces us south. And eventually, once you get down to the bottom, you will find Shill. Silent K? I'm not sure, but anyway. That character of the Nail Clan, hanging out after you've been to the Traveler's Tavern, will not appear until you've made that trip up there to learn about the Seed of Wakka. So cute. Thank you, my furry friend. So now we can breathe underwater for a very brief stretch, but first things first. Now we're going to head back to around the place where we found the key for Madmartigan's handcuffs, as that is far and away the best place to grind at this stage in the game. And to talk to us about it, give us some more information, let's go back to Blaze.
Forgive me, class, the manual is scant on details for a lot of things in this game, especially in the names of the enemies, so I did my best. Regardless, I know it's been a while since I've covered an enemy here in Willow, but that's only because it's been a while since we've actually encountered a new one which is worth battling. While most enemies, up to and including this point in the game, are paying out roughly half or less of the experience each of these guys gives, a single kill of one of these enemies pays out 80 experience. And even better is they only take 2 hits from your newly acquired Devil Eye Sword, making them far faster and easier to kill than anyone else to this point as well. The best place to locate these enemies is exactly where the professor is right now, in the maze-like west area of the forest around Lake Chief, where we found the keys for Mad Mardigan's shackles. Specifically, go 3 screens west of where you found Mad Mardigan, then 2 south from there. That screen and the one to the west of it have a chance to feature this and only this enemy, so bounce back and forth between these Legend of Zelda Lost Woods style screens to trigger them. You don't need to walk deeper onto these screens to trigger them either. They'll either instantly appear or they won't be there, so don't spend more time than you need to as you go back and forth. These enemies will throw fireballs at you or cast their own flowing fire spell, both of which you can snuff out by simply walking into them with your dragon shield. They're not very dangerous in the least unless you're very careless, plus they drop these 10 MP restoring orbs when you kill one of them. You'll be much more frustrated when one floats too far into the trees and you have to wait for them to float back to get a hit on them. I just like to leave the screen in that instance. Too bad we can't fire projectile shots with our sword like Link, you know. In crunching the numbers for you, with most of the levels up through level 9 from our current level, requiring an average of about 15 visits or so onto one of these screens. So killing the pair which shows up each time, we recommend that you spend about 10 minutes or so bouncing back and forth to get yourself to around level 8 or 9 to be in a better position moving forward, not to mention be able to optimally swing your latest dragon sword.
Thank you, Blaze. And while the tavern is close by to top you off, you really won't need it, as with the magic restoring orbs, as Blaze mentioned. Just heal yourself as necessary. Let's speed this up, though, while we aim for level 9, and while we're doing this, how about another Fluff fact from our resident fact finder, Fluff?
As is sometimes the case, Capcom actually made 2 completely different versions based on the property of Willow. While we're obviously playing the action RPG, Legend of Zelda-inspired NES version of Willow, Capcom released an arcade-exclusive version earlier in that same year of 1989. Featuring what are obviously and understandably superior graphics, this much shorter version plays much more like a Golden Axe meets Commando-inspired shoot-'em-up game, as Willow battles through 6 stages filled with enemies and bosses, firing out magical energy shots reminiscent of Mega Man's arm cannon.
Looks pretty cool. Anyone in class ever play the arcade version? Can't say I ever remember seeing that in the arcades in the 90s, but anyway, in real time that took about 12 minutes to go from level 5 to level 9. Not too bad in the least, especially considering level 16 is the max in this game. And we're not going to go to level 16 for what it's worth. We don't recommend that. There will be one more, even more efficient grinding spot later, which Blaze will cover once we get there, but for now, level 9 works just fine for us. There it is, officially. If you want, you can keep grinding here if you want to really make things easier moving forward. Level 13 is a key level for the aforementioned reason of helping Finn Raziel. Again, don't know how to pronounce that, but not to mention swinging the Devil Eye like a champ. Not a euphemism, but yeah, that would take about another 40 minutes to go from level 9 to level 13 in this area. Not exactly efficient, so let's return back to the tavern. Traveler's Tavern, as posed somewhere crying and gathering literature on how to help us. Once we get there, stop off real quick just to make sure our numbers are topped off. You'll certainly need it to account for your new max MP and HP that level 9 commands, or whatever level you ended up grinding to. 9 is just our recommendation. Mad Mardigan, oh yeah, the brave Daikini warrior, right? Sure. Mumbled something about defeating Bavmorda and left. Alright. At least he mumbled something, unlike Willow, but anyway, once you're ready, Head outside and head to the east. Old woman tells us about a couple towers waiting for us, which we will get to before too long. Some kind of secret being kept there. If you go a bit more north there on that screen, that triggers the enemies to pop out, actually. This screen right here, Blaze will talk about a bit later. Those enemies can be defeated very efficiently with a spell which we do not have yet, but they pay out. Well, I'll let Blaze talk about it later. That's one possibility for grinding later on in the game, but we'll talk about it. With the Wakka Seeds, we can go right through the water here, breathing underwater, and once you come out, you'll find a cave where you'll find Finn Raziel in their opossum state. Must be Willow. Glad you made it all this way. And please change me to my normal self with Cherlindria's magic cane. So, if you're not at level 13, you will instead turn Finn Raziel into a different creature. I think it's commensurate with whatever level you're on. It doesn't really matter. Like, oh yeah, maybe don't do that. I don't know, I feel like Raven or whatever that creature was, probably better than the opossum state. You get to fly around. That's probably a new experience. Couldn't do that before, I'm sure, but you can come up here, but Sorsha will block you off and not let you pass. This is the daughter of the great Queen Bavmorda, so she's the baddie, but she won't fight us. She is looking for Mad Mardigan. He was a suspicious man, so we caught him, but he got away somehow. Yeah, maybe don't just leave your prisoners tied up in the middle of nowhere, you know? If you mean them to be a prisoner, then maybe take them with you, but not trying to tell evil people how to be more evil or be evil more effectively. Regardless, we can't pass on that way, so enter this cave right here, a lake cave. At the start, it's a very linear path. You'll encounter a number of enemies you can use the Devil Eye Sword on, including a slightly stronger version of the enemies we were just grinding on for a while. Again, context. These ones pay out 90 experience versus the 80. Not quite as convenient in terms of getting two of them on the screen back-to-back or back-to-back screens, plus can't reach them quite as easily as well. Nice to be able to take out one of those magic users themselves with this sword. And you got these Casper-looking ghosts, which pay out 80 experience per, and they keep splitting, so you can potentially bank some nice experience very quickly right here, but you have to wait for them to keep splitting to get the most out of it, and once they've split for the last time, they move around much faster and clear the screen, so it's a bit of a crapshoot. Just going to ignore most threats, hold out for the aforementioned better grinding opportunity, but eventually you'll come across this chest on the linear path, and we'll get ourselves the Flute Spell. Blaze?
The useful Flute Spell allows you to immediately exit whatever cave or dungeon you're in to the tune of 20 magic points. Very useful if you're a little low on health and MP and want to prioritize escaping your situation and hopefully having 20 MP left over to taxi back to the tavern or other safe spot for a top-off.
Thank you, Blaze. Yeah, it's a nice combo now that we have between the Flute Spell and the Ocarina for exiting our current area and then fast traveling back to where we actually want to go. But after getting that, continue the linear spiral path to find yourself outside. Go left and around to enter back into a different area of the cave. Kind of reminds me of something out of Star Tropics right here, actually, but now go down and around, going right at the first intersection which you come upon. And gotta swap out our sword here. And as I think Blaze mentioned, part of the frustrating nature of the Devil Eye is that it doesn't work against most of the enemies in this game, so if you want to use it, there's a lot of sword changing going on there, but anyway. So go right at that intersection, then go through the first door which you come upon, and then go through the next door, head up, and then east. And then from here we're just going south 3 times. Just ignoring all the enemies here. And then a west. And this will take us to another chest, which this time contains the metal shield. Blaze?
The metal shield gives us a nicer boost than we've been accustomed to lately from shield to shield, this time a plus 15 over our dragon shield for projectile damage.
Thank you, Blaze. I like the look of this shield, translucent, purple. Not what you'd expect from a metal shield, that seems kind of blah, but having secured that, go east 1 screen south, and then west to get the next spell. Blaze?
The Book of Magic gives us the Spell of Renew, which, for 3 MP, is able to transform some enemies into different weaker enemies. For our purposes, at this stage in the game, it's not too useful outside of a handful of soldiers we'll encounter later on in the game.
Thank you, Blaze. Yes, literally never need to use that spell. Like, probably half the spells they give you in this game, just completely unnecessary. Speaking of which, so go east, north, and then east twice from that intersection to find yourself against the wall here. Now go north to find one last spell from a chest. Blaze?
The Demon's Feather, aka Terstorm, allows us for 5 MP to blow certain enemies off the screen altogether. You don't get experience for doing this, and it only works on a little under half of the enemies in the game, but if you want to get an enemy out of the way, there you go.
Another spell which we'll literally never have to use in this game. But anyway, go south twice, then east and exit out, crossing the bridge to get the Cross Flute. This is an item which is necessary for defeating the boss. Just a passive item that without it the boss will be just continuing to regain its health during the battle, so it's an unwinnable battle. Actually, if you stumble upon that screen with the boss without this item, then you're SOL, so yet another reason to follow along with this Willow NES walkthrough. Yes, points to Capcom for putting in the amount of, content, different spells, things like that, which they did, but just so many of them are redundant as far as I'm concerned. Just continue along here. And then as we go back to the west, we actually are kind of retracing our steps. Ultimately, you'll see the cave which we entered to set us on the path to grab the shield and a couple spells which we did. It all kind of connects. The game itself calls this the Confusing Cave. It's going to get more confusing with subsequent dungeons and caves, but again, we got pretty efficient routes through each one, so it's not going to be too bad, but exit through there, and this is the cave or the exit which we used earlier to grab ourselves that other loot. So now we're going to head north here, and this will just dead end into the boss. So Gary, what do we do?
Boss beater.
Muzh is extremely easy, especially if you stick to stabbing. Have your dragon sword equipped, rush up, and give the boss a quick stab. They'll retaliate with 7 needle shots, something they'll do intermittently regardless of whether or not you attack, all of which will be blocked by even your dragon shield, let alone your metal shield, which you should now have. After this, get another stab in, and they'll do the same. By this point, you'll probably have them trapped against the back wall, and if you're quick enough, you can get 2 or even 3 quick stabs in before they retaliate. Regardless, this battle is dirt simple. Just make sure you come into it with the flute before battling them, otherwise they'll regain their health indefinitely, as the professor mentioned, making this battle unwinnable.
That's right, thank you, Gary. Did mention that, so now we're playing the Cross Flute, which was necessary for stopping that boss from getting their health back. They're not really acting like that had any bearing on that, but still, we're here to tell you that's how that worked. And now they're reunited, Muzh and Zaina. Turned into an ugly monster by the wicked magic of Bavmorda. She's just kind of ruined everyone's day. Ordered to guard this door for the rest of my life. It's a bummer existence right there. Now we can be together forever and ever. It disappeared. Did we get anything for our efforts? But this time would come, so I wrote this note to leave behind. Bavmorda is afraid of the power of the spirits, and she fears just people like you. What, is she a bigot against dwarves? What's she trying to say? I'm sure that the spirits will help you if they can be troubled. I'll write down the magic word of Bombard here. There you go. Alright. Bombard. Blaze?
The 10 MP Bombard Spell is a decent option for hitting all enemies on the screen, especially the ones in hard-to-reach areas, but we're about to get a much more powerful and efficient spell for doing just that, so I don't recommend this one.
Thank you, Blaze. I'm in agreement with you. Yeah, the next offensive spell, which we get much better than Bombard, as you will see. So after that exchange, after getting that spell, exit out of the door and follow the path. And there is a nice piece of music as you come upon the two towers up here on either side. Now, I'm familiar with the baby from the film, the Elora Danan, sacred future queen of Finn Raziel's prophecy. Spirit of Earth. When the two spirits come together, that is when change truly will begin. The two spirits are waiting for you on top of the tower. Man, can we just call them? We now need to travel to the top of this east tower, followed by the top of the west tower. It's a bit of a grind, I'm not gonna lie. Just going up floor after floor. Eventually, occasionally, enemies will appear in your way. It's not a big deal if you get smacked around a little bit, because all we really need to do is just survive long enough through these, two relatively brief towers that we need to scale to the tops of. It's a nice detail, I have to say, the flames down from the lower levels. Nice little illusion of depth, right? Did not mean to do that. Kind of reminds me of another Capcom title we tackled in the last few months. In Sweet Home. I don't know, something about the effect of seeing, I guess, the lower floors. I think they did that pretty well. In that Japanese exclusive horror game, the precursor to Resident Evil. Check out our class on that via the playlist in the description as well. Every now and then an enemy will pop their head out. Had pretty decent luck so far, haven't had too many run-ins. Yeah, an elevator would be nice. Probably about to be installed in a couple months, just our luck. You can stop and fight this blue diaper-clad muscle guy if you like, but I figure probably lose as much health trying to fight him as I would just trying to sneak through right there. And trying to leave enough MP left over to use that Flute spell once we get to the top here for the quick exit. Here we are. My goodness. Yeah, even like a couple cans and a string attached to them. Something. That's nice. Thank you for the courtesy. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have placed Bavmorda in this world. She's kind of ruining everything. But he'll give us his strength in the form of this blue crystal. And now we are tasked with climbing the west tower. There's no chance I'm gonna go back the way we came, so yes, use your Flute spell right here. And it treats it like a dungeon, thankfully. So it deposits heat right outside. And now let's climb the other one. Can't tell me this is the first time this has come up, you know? You think after an instance like this before, they might think, yeah, maybe we should get a phone or something, or at least have a spell for communicating back and forth. And a lot of the spells from Crystalis, to keep going back to that, but just the similarities between the two games. If you've played that game or seen it before, seen our class on it, you'll certainly recognize the similarities between the two. That came out a year after this game. But yeah, they kind of the streamlined version of this guy. I say they, it's a different company, SNK, but yeah, just everything had more of a purpose. All the spells, about half the swords, half the shields in that game, and they're just all elemental based. Very good game though. Recommend that you give that one a shot if you haven't played that one before. Certainly if you enjoy this game, or even The Legend of Zelda. Mind the flash warning, obviously, or the flashes as I give you the warning. Just a linear spiral here. Again, we've got some spells that in theory we could use, you know, to attempt to blow these enemies away or freeze them, but just can't be bothered. It's very rare when you actually need to reach into your bag of tricks and pull one of those out. One more use of that. We should have just enough at the end of this. We'll certainly have enough to exit out of here. Let's see if we can minimize the damage we take in the meantime. This should be the final floor. Yeah, ideally you want to have at least 40 MP at the end of all this, because we'll want to fleet out of here and then ultimately use our Ocarina Spell to get back to the tavern. Gotta check in with the baby though before we head out. There you go. The blue crystal, the red crystal. We're in the Matrix all of a sudden. So just gotta check back in with Elora Danan. And one more use of the Fleet spell to get out of here. Makes it seem like we missed a spell. There is that gap in our spell book so far, but if you pay attention, they actually jump all over the place with where they fill in those holes, so. Two lights that rule the skies and earth come together and are reborn into this world. Through your diligence as Elora Danan, she will overthrow all of the evil entities and turn their existence into nothing. And now they give this very weak dwarf the Crest of Spirits, and they mention this will protect the whole world. But if just, you know, someone mugs you, Bavmorda gets a hold of this, yeah, we're SOL basically. The world is doomed, so. I don't know, maybe give this to... Is Mad Mardigan still around? Just, you know. I don't know. We are level 9. Alright, so let's use our last remaining MP here. A little surprised they didn't top off our numbers for us. That's the future queen, and she can't give us a quick MP HP refill there. You know where I want to go, Poe. Let's not play this game. Alright then, hang on tight. So ultimately, to our next objective, it's just faster to go this way anyway than going back through the lake cave again. Although practically speaking as well, we do want to get our numbers topped off before we do any more adventuring, but we certainly don't want to cut back through the lake cave. So now, Just gonna head back once again. If you talk to that lady again, for what it's worth, she's the one that told us. There's the skulls that only pop up if you go north enough there. Yeah, if you talk to that lady again, she'll say the exact same thing. You might think, oh, they changed the messaging after you went to the 2 towers. But now she'll just mention, there's gotta be something in those 2 towers, so. But cutting through here again, courtesy of our Wakka Seeds. Like the nice blue tint on everything, including Willow. Now as we come out, still obviously can't help Finn, Raziel. And we're gonna skip the Lake Cave entrance this time, and now Sorsha, I guess having just gotten bored, she took off, so the way is now clear. I know that was a product of us going to those 2 towers. That's the only reason that she's gotten out of the way, so in case you were thinking it's just like a time thing or something, I don't think anyone was thinking that, but just to nip that in the bud. But yeah, same strategy as the Snake Men or any other instance, any other color of these muscle-looking guys for getting through there without too much trouble. I mentioned it earlier, a lot of these enemies when they warp in just don't even have a chance to really do anything to us. We got these skulls for 30 experience a pop now, but still not nearly as nice as those enemies we were using earlier. We're going to go south at that intersection, then east right here, and follow it until you can get east at the next intersection. Right here. And then this will lead us to the Monster Bone, aka the Specter magic spell, something which we'll need later on in the game. But Blaze, how about the Specter Spell?
For a whopping 50 MP, you can live the life of a monster for roughly 20 seconds. This will save you from triggering any enemy appearances while this is in effect, plus allow you to cross certain obstacles. Just know that most people won't talk to you until it wears off.
Good call, Blaze. Thank you very much. Yeah, we need to use that very late in the game to gain access to the final dungeon in the game. Keep an eye on your health, saying that for myself as much as you, class. Now go south at the fork right there after grabbing yourself the Specter Spell. And follow the path around until you can go south and then east to get a very valuable spell. Not to mention a place where we can top off our health as well, and MP. Unfortunately, we don't get a checkpoint once we get there. That guy looks like it's like something out of old Cartoon Network Adult Swim right there. Something from the early 2000s. One of the sillier looking enemies in this game. Is that from the film, by the way? Anyone who's seen it? Was there just a giant face in the mountain? There might have been, I don't know. Anyway, pop in this lady's house, telling us about Nockmaar Castle, and she'll teach us the strongest magic in the world. This is the magic word of thunder. Blaze?
We finally have the Thunder Spell. Essential for grinding, the Lazy Man spell instantly clears the screen of most enemies you come across. It's twice the cost of Bombard, but it's more powerful, and most importantly, much faster to cast, which again, excellent for grinding, especially screens with multiple high experience yielding enemies, as we'll cover in a moment.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much, Blaze, and go north one screen from the old woman's house to find a chest which will actually block our way, but let's first talk about that spell. How about the Healball Spell, Blaze?
Our final spell of the game class, the Healball Spell, restores 168 HP, making it a much better value per cast than the Healmace and only 10 MP more than that spell cost to cast.
Thank you, Blaze. Yeah, that chest will be there until pretty much the end of the game. That's Capcom's novel way of blocking access to kind of the final area of the game. But anyway, more to the point, as we speed things up here, this is one of two options for the final grinding spot in the game. Let's bring in Blaze to talk about the choices which we have at this stage in the game. And, well, Blaze, I'll let you take it from here.
That's right, Professor. There's a couple very rich spots which I'll suggest for earning quick experience at this stage of the game, particularly with our newly acquired Thunder Spell. First, the shore just north of the Traveler's Tavern has 3 crab-like enemies who pop out of the water and come at you fast. Once all 3 are on the screen, cast Thunder to earn 100 experience from each of them for a total of 300 instant experience. To ensure that you don't take damage, approach from the north, hugging the water, then cutting inward like I show to get the first couple enemies to stop early, and fire up the Thunder Spell once that third one appears from the water. The only problem with this is that you'll have to run out of magic and then have to go back to the tavern, which thankfully and admittedly is only a few screens away, to top off your MP. Alternatively, you have the slightly better paying versions of an earlier enemy I recommended that you use to get to level 9. Just east a few screens from the woman who gives us the Thunder Spell's entrance, you'll find 2 screens side by side which feature pairs of these enemies who pay 90 experience each. Casting Thunder instantly defeats them both as well, and while it's only worth 180 experience per screen, you can bounce back and forth between the 2 screens very quickly. While it's not a guarantee that you'll see these enemies, you don't have to walk onto the screen to trigger them, plus they each leave a 10 MP restoring orb, so assuming you can reach them and feel like grabbing them, then you never need to retreat back to the woman's place for a top-off. Honestly, I've timed them for both running some tests and taking everything I mentioned into account. It's pretty near a wash in terms of which one is faster. If you want to run the ocean for the first couple levels or so, then maybe for a change of pace, travel up to the mountains for the rest. That's your call. Regardless, the ability to use the Thunder Spell makes cleaning up in either spot quick, so it should only take another 15 minutes or so to reach the near 40,000 experience we need to reach level 13, at which point we can help Finn Raziel.
Sounds good, Blaze. Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm going to opt for the mountain area strategy right here for the duration, as it requires slightly less brain power and not having to avoid damage or get your magic topped off quite as often, so... Yeah, the right of these 2 screens will always feature these enemies. The left one is just a coin flip, but yeah, literally every time you come onto the right screen here, you always have those enemies for what it's worth. But anyway, as we're chipping away to level 13, as Blaze mentioned, let's go back to Fluff for another Fluff fact about Willow. Fluff?
If you put in any one of a number of special passwords, you can access the game's debug mode, which gives you the completely useless but vaguely interesting ability to change the tile set or layout on any particular screen. To do this, try putting in the password we're showing on the screen. Once in the game, press select to see 2 numbers pop up which serve as the coordinates for that screen. Holding A or B while pressing up or down changes each respective coordinate so that you can make over the look of the screen, albeit without changing the actual paths. Like I said, useless but vaguely interesting.
Can't argue with that description, Fluff, and it helped us get the rest of the way to level 13 right there. So after we've hit level 13, we don't need to travel immediately back to help Finn Raziel. I'd prefer another fast travel point for efficiency's sake anyway, so let's head east from the old woman's place 3 times. Going past our favorite grinding spot. Can't help myself. Then go north right here. 4 times total. Can't tell me that's not straight out of The Legend of Zelda, those boulders coming down right there. And then east on the 4th north, which you come to. Follow this around, and we find our... Can't take that enemy seriously. For what it's worth, you can take those out with the Thunder Spell right there, and it's worth, I think, what was that, 200 per, so, you know, it's okay, but obviously not the strategy we recommended. But Blaze, the tail shield.
They say it's made from the tail of a demon, but it looks more like an insect to me. Anyway, the tail shield is another steady upgrade to our ranged defense, with another plus 10 over the last shield, the metal shield.
Thank you, Blaze. So with that, retrace your steps going south 3 times. West once. South twice. And now this time go right at the intersection instead. And follow this path going down at the next fork. Right here. Works on them too. It's a nice lazy man spell. I think Blaze mentioned as much. Now we're going to go left at this fork, and now it's time to bust out that very expensive Specter Spell. 50 MP right here. And as Blaze mentioned, those are all of our spells, but cast it before you come to this area to ensure that the traps on the floor don't trigger. And we can go through unscathed. You can just about get to the end with only having to cast it once, especially if you get through that first screen kind of rolling the dice like I did before you actually end up casting it. As Blaze mentioned, this lasts, I think, about 20 seconds, but also, I believe if you change your currently active equipped spell, it'll also undo it, so for whatever reason you want to undo the effect sooner. See, just enough time right there with that little head start, if you will. But anyway, once you get inside the cave, follow the path around and enter the first door to have an exchange with an older man who tells us about Tir Asleen. Tir Asleen? Again, how do you pronounce it? It's the name of a small country a little ways from here. According to an old legend, the Tir Asleen Castle is meant to be the future castle of the peace-loving Alora Danon. She said that a brave man would appear and save this world. I'm just sitting around waiting for that. It's called being proactive. Random old man, just chip in a bit. I guess he's doing his part by telling us. But anyway, after you leave his place, head east for 4 screens, then go south, then right here. Just follow the path. And now take your first left right here to exit out. Appreciate the different colors for these caves. Not all the same drab navy blue there. You get some nice, some kind of shade of red there. Outside, more boulders to contend with. I suppose if you want to use the Specter Spell, you can avoid having any run-ins with them, but not worth the trade-off, in my opinion. And this just goes on and on and on until eventually it twists around. And then it goes on and on this way. A tiny bridge at the start of this on the west side would really improve the efficiency around here, but oh well. And magic and health can be at a bit of a premium here, so just lure those skeletons out to get around them. You can't go across the bridge once you come upon it, so let's go inside the tunnel. Just follow the path, and we have different color, purple tunnel this time. And eventually you'll come upon a Birdman, who appropriately gives us a very weak blade called the Wing Sword. Blaze?
The Wing Sword is worthless to us, and actually weaker than the first sword we got in the game, and the Long Sword at the moment. Those are the key words, class, though, as this will be very useful shortly.
I'll take your word for it. Thank you, Blaze. This music reminds me so much of Topsy-Turvy from Little Nemo. Just me? Anyone else? Leave a comment, but we press on now. Go south from the Birdman. taking the second left and entering this door to talk to an old woman, possibly a witch, who explains the bridge is cursed and that no one can get across. So once outside, cast the Flute spell to make a quick egress, and believe it or not, that exchange with the old woman actually had an impact on something. So retrace your steps, I'm sad to say. Could have used a couple more fast travel points if you ask me, but we're going back to where we found the old man near the beginning of that last cave area. He's going to give us some special witch shoes, which I guess have some kind of anti-curse coating to them, and they allow us to cross that bridge, which we could not get across before. Yes, we need to rush back to the bridge after that. I'm telling you, just a short little bridge right to the west here, connecting down to the south to make this entire little hairpin turn area completely redundant. I guess they'd miss out on all the tourism, the enemies down there that want to kill me. Miss out on those opportunities, but yes, back inside, just still retracing our steps back to that little opening here in the red cave. Thankfully, we can use the Flute spell again to exit back out on the twisty roadside of this cave once we get ourselves the witch shoes. Yes, you couldn't give me these before? These when I ran from the village. Just happen to have those, alright. Another passive item, we just pop those on. And now let's pull out our Flute spell. Cast that to head outside. Still gotta go around though. See, they're familiar with the concept of the little walkway bridge right there, the steps, which could easily lead down south as well, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the powers that be at Capcom were thinking with this in terms of map design, but there you go. Certainly don't remember this from The Legend of Zelda. I'll say that. Alright, so now back at the bridge, we can now cross over, arriving in Tir Asleen, which thankfully, once we get there, will be added to our fast travel list via the Ocarina. Yes, very impressive. Let's say I don't mind the effect of the world kind of blurring when an enemy appears. I think it made more sense when we were back in the grasslands early on in the game. Like kind of the grass blowing around when an enemy would appear. But yeah, it works around the mountains too, I guess. I don't know if that was taken from the film, maybe some of the industrial lights and magic special effects going on there, but anyway, here in the village you'll find most of the homes empty or just closed up. No one in this one, for example. So we're going to head to the northwestern corner of the village, where we'll find someone who shares our cause, and thus will top off our HP and MP. I like it. So you've come to overthrow Bavmorda. That's great. I hate her. Can only wonder what she did to this guy. It's not much else going on in the village, though. Not much else to do. So just head north through the center of town. There's a woman you can talk to in the southwest corner, but that's just for a bit of information. Maybe we'll talk to her when we warp back here later, but you'll find you can't get inside the castle right now, the castle of Tir Asleen, so let's instead head to the east from the closed gate. Follow the path around and go right at the fork. We'll be exploring the other routes later on. And climb to the top of the mountain. Like a miniature version of going through those two towers. Although this comes with the kind of cool effect of it getting darker and darker the higher you climb. For some reason, I would think it would get lighter if anything. There's just a lot of cloud cover passing over right now. Head right here. Just a dead end to the left. And finally, when you get to the top, you'll meet an old woman. There's a lot of old women in this world. So just talking to her will allow you to enter the castle. Waiting for the day the brave man of prophecy appears at Nockmaar Castle and stops the witch's magic. We'll do what we can. So at this point, you can backtrack or warp to get back to the village, but I actually recommend using this as the opportunity to finally warp back to the tavern to go see Finn Raziel. So let me enjoy this one more time. Back to the bar. That little pause every time it gets me. And Willow kicking his feet before he gets picked up sometimes, but anyway. Back at the Traveler's Tavern. Swing around this way. And we're going to need to use our Wakka Seeds one more time to pass through the water. And you can see how this works right here. Obviously we're coming in from the south, so not using Blaze's strategy, but to avoid damage. But still, 300 XP for half a second's work, not too shabby. And they're always guaranteed to show up there, you just have to walk down a little bit, so there is that trade-off in terms of time. Cross through here and enter that first entrance on the other side of the water in case you forgot. And now that we are level 13, we should be able to return Finn Raziel. You don't remember me? I'm the one that made you a raven or whatever you are right now. Crow. Give this another shot. I'm level 13 now. Again, this is the minimum level which you must be to return Finn Raziel to her normal Tim Robbins looking state. Just looks so much like Tim Robbins with long hair right there. So now our Cane magic spell is ready to take on the final boss. So technically, we are ready in terms of level. You can beat the game at minimum on level 13. We'll talk more about that when we get a bit closer to that point in the game, but not too far off now. But now we're going to warp back to Tir Asleen and get topped off again by talking to the like-minded individual in the northwest part of town. And let's go down and talk to that lady. I kind of teased it earlier. She is straight west from the entrance, which is exactly where Poe drops us down there. Probably just happy to take us anywhere besides the tavern for a change. Got all liquored up at the tavern, and now we're seeing this lady. Don't know anything. If Bavmorda knew that someone still lives here, she would surely attack again. Is it worth just 2 people live in this village at this point? How touchy is she? So just a bit of information there that we've already seen the old woman. Saved by Eric, a warrior of this country. I figured if he's the one that we saw, or if we saw his brother. We're supposed to take that bird sword, the winged sword, better said. It's probably very insulting to their people, but whatever. Assuming there's no one from their tribe watching. Taking this class. Okay, let's just stop off and get our numbers topped off here. We're finally going to enter the castle now. Now that we've had the exchange with the old woman on top of the mountain, we can gain access to the castle. That's what ended up triggering that. Just important, I think, to acknowledge that sometimes. We do a number of things sometimes, but just to make it clear that that, in this case, was what allowed us entry to the castle, but there we go. So inside the castle, we have some things we want to grab. Go east twice, then south twice, and then enter the door, pass through here, and then once we come out, go east twice, and then south once, or east once, south once, and east once. Your choice, but open the chest to find yourself the battle shield. Just very topsy-turvy right there. No further description on that one, you could tell. It's late in the game. They're probably crunching at the Capcom offices. They were just over this game by then, but anyway. Actually, before we ask Blaze about that, let's just show you can use the Renew spell on enemies like these. I think we talked about that earlier. There you go. You don't get the experience that you would from the knights for what it's worth. When you use that spell and it changes their form into something else, those are the enemies you get the experience for, so. But anyway, Blaze, how about that battle shield?
The Battle Shield is the penultimate shield in the game, and it's a nice plus 15 boost over the Tail Shield. As an aside, considering we haven't taken any damage from a projectile in quite a few shields now, part of me thinks this game didn't need this many shields, but there you go. We'll get the final shield soon.
Completely agree. So yeah, after getting that shield, go north a couple times and west 4 times, go south twice, then west to find the Wonder Sword. Blaze, how about the Wonder Sword again? Any further description on this one? Nope, just the Light of Life. Can't not picture Celine Dion and Peebo Bryson singing the Light of Life together. Blaze, how about the Wonder Sword?
It's been a while since we've gotten a practical sword upgrade, and the Wonder Sword turns out to be more than worth the wait. With a plus 27 over our Dragon Sword, this is a very nice upgrade and one which requires level 14 to swing it at its optimal speed. By the way, level 14 requires a little over 53,000 experience.
Good call, Blaze. Yeah, that'll be the final level I think that we go for in this game. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but after equipping the sword, go east, then north twice, then west twice, then south, and go through this door right here. Just a straight shot here, as is usually the case. Once out the other side, go south twice. And then go west twice. And by the way, you should use the heal ball to top off your health, as it's just about boss time. If you need to, you can cast Flute, get topped off in town, then re-enter the castle. And from the entrance, we are just 2 west, 4 south, and 2 west from there for what it's worth. But talk to the guy who admittedly kind of blends in, or just kind of looks like a regular enemy before you go north to get the Kaiser Sword. Blaze?
The Kaiser Sword is actually worse than the Wonder Sword, 9 strength weaker than the sword we're currently wielding. The only trade-up is that it only requires level 13 to swing at its full speed.
Alright, next boss, Gary.
Boss beaters.
Eborsisk is very easy on account of his slow speed. You just need to be vigilant about repositioning. At the start, go to the side of the boss's head. Prioritize blocking the fireballs, meaning don't swing if there's a fireball coming at you, but swing at maximum length as the boss comes toward you. Because of the swing, you'll land multiple hits. Back up after a swing and reposition as necessary. Don't get greedy, keep it up like the professor shows, take him down, and mind the Mega Man 2 style flash warning at the end.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, I should have gotten you in a little sooner for that bit, but thank you very much. Very easy like all the bosses to this point. Now go through the door and we'll get a cutscene where we've been trapped in a dungeon with Madmartigan, who we can talk to after this guy gloats that he's caught us. Was pretty good. Hats off to you, Kael. Well done. So yeah, chat with Madmartigan real quick. Seems like every time we run into Madmartigan, he's shackled up. I just feel like you're really bad at whatever it is you're trying to do. Trying to not get caught, you're bad at that. Let's just put it that way. Track record's not great as far as we're concerned. You can talk to him again to learn that Madmartigan's a bit of a glasses half empty kind of guy. Struggling's useless. Anyway, walk down to the southeastern part of the dungeon, and our old pals Frangine and Rule will turn up to release us. Remember them? Kinda do. I'm assuming the shorter lady one is Frangine, and then the one who just kind of echoes what she says is Rule, the guy with the crazy hair. Not really sure. I feel like based on this game and all these wacky characters, I need to see Willow. Just to get some sense as to what's going on here. Just see some of these people acted out or animated or whatever the deal was. But anyway, so once we're out, you can go through the rooms to the exit in the southeast. There's no enemies in this immediate area. That takes you back to the castle itself, at which point the exit is straight north. But it's much more efficient to use the Flute spell. So in the interest of shaving off a minute or so, that's what we do. Flute doesn't work while you're in the jail cell, by the way. I know someone was curious about that, but if you want to get those 20 magic points back, you can go rest again, but otherwise, from the outside entrance of the castle, go east, and this time, go west at the fork, and we'll run into Frangine and Rule one more time, who will talk about this secret cave. We couldn't advance in this cave before, in case you were curious, but now that we've beaten the castle, we can, so enter and follow the linear paths, and enter the first optional door which you come to. Ultimately, this will get us a chest which contains Blaze.
The 8th and final shield of the game, and the Fury Shield is marginally the best shield in the game, beating out the Battle Shield by 5, so equip it and be done with shield management for the rest of this game to Willow, which probably could have gotten by with half the shields if I'm honest, but then again, I guess at that point it would just be a Crystallis.
That's what I'm saying, Blaze, thank you. Alright, so we're going to grab that shield and then exit out, and then find ourselves back at the old woman who taught us Thunder's house, where we can get topped off. At that point, we're going to do a bit of grinding just to get to level 14. We'll talk about why once we get there, but let's bring in Fluff for one final Fluff fact about Willow.
Well, I've done it all month long, and this being the final game we're playing based on a film, at least in the short term, I'm going to once again share some facts now about the film on which this game is based. Willow is a 1988 fantasy adventure film directed by accomplished film director and Richie Cunningham himself, Ron Howard, starring Warwick Davis as the titular Willow and Val Kilmer as the oft-imprisoned, in our game at least, Madmartigan. This was a Lucasfilm production which came about during a time in which they were focusing on fantasy-based films, like 1986's cult classic Labyrinth. Based on a story by George Lucas himself, Lucas conceived of the idea back in 1972, several years before Star Wars. Lucas actually wrote the story specifically with Davis in mind after meeting him on the set of Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi in 1983, in which Davis played the notable Ewok Wicket, a part which he got after the intended actor fell ill and was unable to play the part. Lucas said he gave the part of Wicket and Jedi to Davis after being impressed at how well he carried himself as an Ewok. Davis was only 17 during the shooting for Willow in 1987, and it said that at the time, Willow held the largest casting call for little people to date. Kilmer had garnered the reputation to that point that he was a difficult actor to work with, and while Davis admits that it's one of the most common questions he gets regarding his time on that film, he has shared that he has nothing but fond memories of working with the late actor. One person whom Kilmer certainly didn't have difficulty working with was Joanne Whalley, who plays Sorsha, evidenced by the fact that they met and fell in love on set, marrying the following year in 1988, just a couple months ahead of the film's release. Over a directing career which has spanned 5 decades, director Ron Howard called Willow the toughest movie he's ever made, citing the rough conditions of its New Zealand filming locations in particular. The film received mixed reviews from critics, including from prominent Chicago-based film critics in Siskel and Ebert, who ironically and purportedly were given a nod in the form of the namesake of the two-headed dragon whose name was Eborsisk, a portmanteau of Ebert and Siskel. George Lucas understandably held a bit of mild contempt for the pair, and likely critics in general, hence the tongue-in-cheek namesake, one which apparently went unnoticed by the film critics in their review of the film. That contempt was seemingly well placed, as the pair featured Willow on their worst of 1988 list, though ironically Ebert acknowledged he did like the dragon in his own review. Despite the mixed reviews, the film performed well enough at the box office, and especially upon its subsequent release on home video, earning it the reputation of being something of a cult classic itself amongst its fans. A reputation which was strong enough to greenlight a Willow television series in 2022, which saw Davis reprise his title role of Willow. It turns out that Willow's cult status may have been a little too cult or niche, as not only did Disney cancel the series after only 1 season and 8 episodes, it actually removed the series from its streaming service altogether just 6 months after it debuted.
Thank you very much, Fluff. Alright, so we are just about at the end of this game, and ideally I'd like to be level 14. At this point, you may be there if you've been doing more fighting through the castle. If not, do a bit of grinding in the aforementioned couple of suggested options. We probably just have a few minutes to get the necessary 53,000 some points. There are monsters on the way up to Nockmaar like those faces. Again, you can use the lightning on for 2,000 experience, but yeah, if you're pretty close, you might just want to do that. But the reason I want to be on level 14 is because this will give us just enough magic points to both warp back to Nockmaar after we do one last thing elsewhere and beat the final boss on top of that. For what it's worth, the final boss requires that you have 216 magic points minimum going into that fight to win, and that assumes that you don't miss a single shot with your necessary magic cane spell during that battle. Also, for what it's worth, level 15 gives you just 5 extra magic points total over level 14. The max of level 16 gives you 17 extra magic points over level 14, but yeah, 15 and 16 require 72 some thousand and just under 100,000 experience points, respectively. Basically double the points you've collected over the entire game. It's not worth the time in my estimation, which is why I generally recommend level 14 as the target level that you should aim for to beat the game, as this allows you to warp to the front of the dungeon to minimize damage you take on the way. Not to mention, it saves time, while leaving just enough to beat the game. This should do it, and there you go. No more grinding for the rest of this game class. Again, wasn't too bad, I have to say. But there we go. Alright, so now at this point, once you're ready, rest up at the old woman's house, and then we can go north. Again, they had the blocked off area before, which again still makes me laugh. Just Capcom's solution to blocking off a passage was just put a chest that forces the player to keep opening until they finally get the hint that, yeah, we don't want you going this way yet. That's how Bavmorda keeps us away from the final stretch of this game, but no more. Now we can climb north here, following the long, linear path to Castle Nockmaar. pulling out all the stops the closer we get to Bavmorda. Still can't take it seriously. Capcom was known for their enemy design, you know? I mean, maybe not famously, but it's the company that came up with all the Robot Masters for Mega Man and that series, although, to be fair, I guess a lot of those were just fan submissions, but I can't take that face seriously. It's not unlike visiting the woman on top of the mountain before, just in a different area. Always favor the east side when you're getting to the top of one of those sets of stairs. 2 screens south of the castle will unlock our final fast travel spot for what it's worth right here. So when we get to the door at the top, the guard is going to tell us to scram. Right here. Hello. Can I come in? What are you doing here? This is not a place for the likes of you. Again, I don't like the way you said that. Alright, so once we get here, use your Specter Spell to turn into a jelly. And turn this guard's legs into jelly, apparently. Wow. Just scaring the pants off of him. Whatever they're paying that guy, it's too much. But inside, head all the way west, and then all the way south to meet up with a Bang. That's his name. That's a Deek's brother, or a Dirks, or whatever, I forget. But one Birdman to another. And it is kind of nice being the monster right here so that we can assure we don't have any battles with enemies. Makes me laugh. That serious Birdman face wants nothing to do with us in blob form. Wait for it. Here we go. Just kidding. It was Willow all along. I'm a Bang, a warrior of the Eagle clan. Why do you have my winged sword? Actually, we're kind of lucky he didn't just stab us right there, when you think about it. So now he's going to beef up our winged sword. Blaze kind of referenced this earlier. Blaze, how about that winged sword now?
Now that it's been upgraded, the winged sword is the most powerful sword in the game against most enemies. Note the asterisk there. Technically, the Devil Eye is still 5 strength better, but the winged sword is the blade we'll wield mostly from here on out. Thankfully, you only need to be level 12 to optimally swing it, so we're all good from here on out. And speaking from here on out, good luck!
Thank you, Blaze. Excellent work today. That is our final Blaze appearance of this class. Clearly the most valuable TA for this one. I don't think anyone's going to debate that. So after you finish speaking with a Bang, cast Flute to exit, then fast travel to Tir Asleen. I'm going to go to that northwest house and just rest up. And this will be, if things go well, our final rest, our final top off, if you will, for this game. I'll have one quick stop to make before we head back to the castle. We're working on it. Alright, so before we fast travel back to Nockmaar, we need a key. I think a Bang kind of referenced that, so to get that key, and now that we've had that exchange with him, we can now go west outside of the castle of Tir Asleen. Just follow this linear path down and around until you find a small closed-up house. But the door will open up after you've talked to a Bang. And the old woman inside. Lots of old women in this game, by the way. This world can't be too dangerous when the majority of people we encounter are old, right? There's some logic to that, but anyway, she'll give us the key for Nockmaar. Key to Nockmaar Castle. Alright, I talked about this earlier while we were grinding to level 14, but once we head back to Nockmaar, magic points are at a premium. Remember that at level 14, you have just enough magic points to both warp to Nockmaar, which we're doing right now, and beat the final boss, assuming you don't miss with the 12 magic points per shot magic cane spell necessary for defeating that final boss. And that assumes that you never cast the heal spell or any other spells for that matter. So, yeah, with all this in mind, you want to avoid all enemies once inside the castle to minimize the damage you take, because healing is not an option. But with all that established, let's fast travel back, and the guard is still sufficiently spooked to leave the front door unattended. Once inside, go all the way west and all the way south to where a bang was hanging out. Actually, ignore that door that he was standing out in front of and go east, and then north, and then east again, and enter this door. Once you come out the other side, right here, we're going to go north twice, acknowledging the noodle pattern on the floor. Tell you what, I bet SNK definitely played this game, as you can see some of the influences from this game into that. Again, only a year apart from one another, but sure there was a little bit of an influence there. But anyway, as you come out of this door, go east and then north to find and talk to Sorsha and Mad Mardigan. I don't think they've designed a sprite of that dude not tied up. Literally every time we see him, he is tied up. But the cutscene will play out where Willow will try to use the love powder we got on Sorsha, but she'll dodge and it'll hit Mad Mardigan instead, which basically makes him drunk as he starts talking about how much he loves her and all of their potential. Basically exactly what you would not want to hear from someone in your life, whether they were drunk or not, whether you had history with them or not. But it turns out, wait for it. Yeah, he's like just before that second drink, actually, where everything seems possible. To quote some Mitchell and Webb right there. It's all roses. I think I would have just stabbed him by now if I were Sorsha, but anyway, it turns out she's into it. She's on board all of a sudden. She just needed a kind word, apparently. As Willow just ambles off as he normally does, but after the cutscene, get ready for the next boss and General Kael. Gary, what do we do?
Boss beaters.
General Kael is the toughest boss we fought, but he's still pretty manageable if you're patient. The boss will get 2 or 4 swings in while slowly advancing on you. As soon as he stops swinging, rush up in front of him and give him a stab. This will force him back a bit, ensuring you won't get trapped at the bottom as long as you keep it up. He'll get another pair or pair of pairs of swings in, then just repeat. As long as you're patient, you can take the general down without too much difficulty. Good luck.
Thank you, Gary. I like after Kael delivers his intimidating speech right there, Willow just walks off as if he had just talked to anybody else. Just, alright, that's fine, let's fight now. Willow's a man of actions, not words. I appreciate that about him. Strategy's working well, though. We have a flash warning coming up at the end of this one as well. I think Mega Man 2 is an apt comparison for another Capcom title. Right there, my goodness. Developers loved that effect in the late 80s on the NES. How else could you convey a big moment in a game? Like you just took down Dr. Wily, just took down General Kael, and got a pretty decent payout in terms of experience. Not that it matters at this stage in the game. Not enough to get us that near 70,000, but after the battle, go through the door and cross to the west. Just to remind you for the 100th time, we want to preserve all of our magic from here on out. Just avoid any and all enemies you encounter along the way. They're just there to attempt to distract you and chip away at your health because, yeah, I mean, regardless of what level you come into this final battle at, you're not going to have really any magic left over to spend on healing, so it should all just be going, for the most part, to getting extra shots in on your magic cane spell, maybe that 1 or 2 at most extra shots, but one final pass over here to cross over. Make sure you equip your magic cane, by the way, before you get into this battle. Before you go through this door right here. And yeah, it's time for the final boss. Gary?
Boss beater.
Alright, as the professor stressed earlier, magic's at a premium in this battle. You need to come into this with at least 216 magic points at minimum to get the necessary 18 hits of magic cane to land on Bavmorda. Because we can't afford to miss, sacrifice health to prioritize landing hits with that spell. Make sure one of the boss's flames don't get in the way. Stay close. Don't cast a spell when they're near the wall and about to change course again as well. Again, don't worry too much about health because the next and final phase is much easier, but good shooting and good luck.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, it's a good tip about the wall, as, I mean, she changes course kind of randomly in general a lot of times, but yeah, those walls, especially when she bounces off just enough magic in the tank right there. Felt pretty good, but now the final phase. We are not quite done, Gary. Take us home.
Boss beater.
This final phase of Bavmorda is just like when we were battling those skulls way back when we were just getting our first couple of levels. Just tap that attack button to swing your sword as fast as possible from the start, and the flames or advancements of the bosses will be moot. Keep tapping away, take her down, and congratulations, you have beaten Willow.
Thank you very much, Gary. I like that once again. She's like, please, Willow, don't do it. I'll be destroyed. And he just walks away. And then proceeds to just chop her into tiny little pieces. As we enjoy the ending, and so ended Bavmorda, however you pronounce that, the messenger of the skies who cut ties entirely with the spirits of the skies. Only through the powerful magic of Finn Raziel and the birth of Elora Danan and Willow, the man of courage and belief, was Bavmorda's menace thwarted. The spirit of the skies brought Bavmorda back to the sky and said, "What were you thinking?" People chose Elora Danan as their queen and lived happily, wishing her wealth and happiness. Was she ruling from the crib? How does that work? Anyway, though, pretty decent ending, I have to say. Relative to most NES games, that was pretty good. Get some nice shots now of the places we've been. David Bowie. Mo? Anyway, big thanks to all my TAs for this one, especially Blaze for going above and beyond with, giving us info on pretty much everything which we picked up in this game. But, yeah, very satisfying game right here. It's Tom Pond. Recognizing all these names from Fishman, from other Capcom titles. Tall Knob, not going to touch that one. More ways than one, but yes, just all of the little aliases which they used to keep other companies from poaching their talent. Hardy J, Maki-chan. We have Yuki-chan's Papa, Lucasfilm, of course. Don't have to worry about anyone poaching them. Excellent game, though. Glad we finally got around to doing this one. Here as we close out our month of classes devoted to games based on films. As we pan up here, let me say, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to enroll in Video Games 101. We do one of these classes every single week in the same spot. We'd love to have you enrolled. Click that like button too if you don't mind. Really does help us out to make future classes for you. And leave a comment. Have you played this one? And should I check out the film Willow as well? Shot right there kind of reminds me of Little Nemo. Final shot of that game. Just gotta swap out the house, the castle for a house, have Nemo looking out the window, and there you go. But that's our time for this week. We'll see you next week in the same spot for next week's class, right here on Video Games 101. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.